Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. There we go. All right. All right. Shalom, y'all. Bashim, y'all. Shalom to the brothers. Y'all, Shema, Bashim, y'all. Shalom to the sisters. Yeah, the UPK, the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, established in 1969, 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are led by Commanding General Yahweh. We are not affiliated with any other organization. Remember that. Israel, pay your tithes. Remember that too. UPK.com. Whenever you are ready. Let's see where our blank spot is. There. All right. Psalm 83, finish. Apologize for the wait. So we should be on the last two verses, 17 and 18, just to finish this chapter. These last couple verses, and then we can escape. All right, verses 17 and 18. This will be a relatively short class, but as always, any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to ask in the chat. Again, preferably on topic. If there are any interests outside of LASHAWAN QADASH, the Holy Tongue, we can address that towards the end of the class. So if you're going off of the Torah, it should probably read 18 and 19. But if you're going off of, if you're following in English, in the KJV, will be on 17 and 18. Speaking of the KJV, y'all should go check out Captain Baptist's. So y'all know that he is an established author. He's got several books out. The latest that he had printed out was KJ Verified, going into some of the issues, some of the mysteries, some of the arguments surrounding the conception, the authority, the authorization of the KJV, the King James Version Bible, 1611. And he, of course, he cites all of his sources, all the material that he had studied and went through to come to this conclusion that the King James Version Bible is legitimate. The best translation from the ancient records into the Hebrew, or it's like from the ancient records, you're using the Greek and Hebrew records into and Latin, I believe, into English. The King James 1611 is the most accurate translation to date. All right, so we are in Psalms 83. I can't remember what number, this was the video 5, 10, 15, 20. I think we had spread it across maybe 8 or 9. I think we're mainly able to get about between 2 and 4 verses each take, which should leave us with these last two. So we're going to start off with verse 17. I'm tripping already. Well, guys, why don't you tell me, man? The Hebrew, of course, goes from the right to the left. The English, of course, goes from the left to the right. Make sure that that's outside. We're kind of on the bottom of that. A little light show on the screen. That should be okay. Yabashua. Like that. Well, Yabahalwa. Ayah. Some of these should be familiar if you are tuning into the Sabbath services when we're running the prayers now. Psalms 83 is one of them. One of the Psalms 121 is the longer one. So this is, 18 verses isn't that bad, but repetition helps. Well, yes, power. If you're ever unhappy with your penmanship, always start it over. Practice again makes perfect. Well, yeah, a bottle. Select 1 second, just gotta send this message out. All right, so we got Yabashua. We got Bahalwa. Ayah. We got Harwa. We got Badi. Well, let's run this back in the English. And again, if you've got the Blue Letter Bible, that's a good source to use when you're going in between the Hebrew, the Greek, the English. Which one of the markers are like? Okay, red and green will do for now. Let's see how the blues deliver. Been a while. All right. Okay. So now, of course, just a refresher. So the Hebrew reads and writes from the right to the left. I'll be throwing the English translation underneath. I'll be using English characters to give you the phonetic sounds of the Hebrew characters. Hey, Shalom, sis. Y'all small up slack. Oh, my fault. That's not the rip of. That is the priest and officer of 1,000. Kananya. Shalom, y'all about to be shepherd. All right, so when using the English characters, just for familiarity's sake, we'll run it from left to right because that's normally how we read the English. Just makes that part a little bit easier. So let's see if we can. You know, that's kind of small on there, but it's that's pretty clear. Yabashwa. Or Yabahalwa. I. It's a little dark. It's just starting to go. But yeah, I pretty much pronounced how you would say like I would, the abbreviation or the shorthand for I would. I. Well, yeah, Arwa. Well, yeah. Yeah, this red might be dead. It switched. That would still be good. Let's switch with the blue. That's better. Well, yeah, Abago. Yabakwa. Well, yeah, Bahawa. Well, yeah, Arwa. Bago. Now in English, what the crap did we just say? This is where that blue letter comes in because it'll give you more succinct, more directly, a more direct translation than. I'm horrible at explaining this part, but you're going to see how sometimes when we're translating it into the English from the Hebrew or the Greek, you're going to get kind of some filler words in English that aren't going to appear there in the Hebrew. But the concept of the thought is going to be there in the Hebrew or the Greek. But to make sense of it in English, you got to add a couple words, maybe subtract something. But it's the concept that we're trying to convey here. So I know we had gone over that in some of the last episodes. And we're starting at it again, pretty much. So your buy score, so we've got your pretense here. Bosh was going to be your root word. Ya is normally, again, as the preposition here, that's normally going to be like, and depending on the context, I, him, he. So again, this is a prayer. The phrase, the concept that's being conveyed here is let them be confounded. Again, Bashma being, it's like, it would be Bawash and Bosh. For meaning shame. With that Y at the end. Giving it plural. But again, this whole phrase is going to read out. It's going to be confounded. Well, you have power. So it's like, well, you have a hollow. Bahal is going to be your root. Well, yeah, so was going to be and. And then again, that ya going, making it, I guess, calling to the attention of who we're praying to in this case. And then again, the Y expressing the plurality, the them. This is and trouble. How well that green is showing up. Yeah, it's not too bad. I have to switch back to the blue for everything now. So I is almost a it's almost exclamatory. It's kind of doubling down because I already means forever and perpetuity. So it's kind of doubling down on this portion of the prayer. We're going to switch to the blue for a bit. Forever. And then again, this is kind of where we have one of those filters. So 1 second. Shalom. Who's calling? One of those. All right, so in English, you're going to see yay. Again, kind of have an exclamation, but you're not going to see that in the Hebrew. You're going to kind of see that theme throughout a lot of the scriptures. When we have one of those moments, one of those exclamatory moments, you're not going to see the Hebrew. There's not going to be a Hebrew word for it. But again, the concept that's being conveyed is something exciting. So in English, you're going to see yea, that they be put to shame. Kapar, be a root word there. You kind of have, similar concept here with Mawash. That's not. Because the root word would have been Mawash. And kapar. They can both express shame depending on how you're applying it, but in this case, confounded is the term the term preferred to define this concept. Well, Yahweh and perish. To be abad. Perish, died, be exterminated, be lost, buried, destroyed, killed. Again, all different kind of contexts and applications of it. Psalms 83, so we got Yabashua, we got Bahalwa, Adi, we got Taparwa, we got Badi. Psalms 83 and 17. As always, for the viewers at home, homework can be translating this into the Paleo Hebrew. You can send that in to ishpkmil@gmail.com. Give you a couple more seconds on this before we crank out the last verse and finish this little series. Add this to the notes, and we can move on with starting with it's like for the inconsistencies with this slavery, man. Slavery, the hours that you got to put into a Ford, and some of the bills that, like, when you're establishing a school, your priorities, the school bills, the rent, the utilities, the tools, the technology, the things, the adornment, all the things that you're going to need to establish your own zone. And if you get a physical building, and yet again, in the beginning, when we first got here in Milwaukee, when I first came back from Minnesota to Milwaukee, we were in CQ's basement. You know what I'm saying, in the brother's apartment. He had opened up his home to us. I won 5,000 Zaquan, and his amazing, awesome, his rib, Diana. Go check out Daya Soul too. Daya Soul. Go hit up Diana. I think she's on Facebook. I had her card. I don't know if we got any hanging up here. Yeah. Yeah, Dayasol. So DAYASOUL3 @gmail.com. Go check out her. She got soaps. She got oils. She got the sea moss. You got the sea moss. Definitely want to check that out. She got a lot, putting together her own flavors with it. You can get a lot of different combinations of stuff in there too. Definitely worth checking out. Well, we were in their basement, for the first couple of years until we got this joint. And the finances, even just to run that, with the few brothers that you may start off with who got jobs, decent enough slavers to kind of cover their own needs as well as take care of the needs of the school. Prioritizing your finances, it can be a struggle. You got to juggle a lot of different bills. You got your phone bill, you got the school's phone bill, you got your internet, you got the school's internet, you got your rent, you got the school's rent, you got your utilities, you got the school's utilities. So it can be a lot to focus on. Your attention going a lot of different ways, and that's why the consistency it pays off, keeps it running like a well-oiled machine, and it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to require a lot from you, but it's what we're building. The whole point to all this is to rebuild our nation as a people. We talked about this in a couple classes not that long ago about how you can excel as an individual in this captivity. They love your Puff Daddies. They love your Sean Combs. They love your. They love to make a spectacle. Your Tookie Williams. They love throwing young men to the wolves. Carmelo Anthony, man. That brother was right to defend himself, considering the danger that he was in. But this is also why we need to work harder to establish our own safe spaces, so we don't have to worry about being inconvenienced by these devils any more than what's necessary. We don't need to compete in their track and field, but sometimes that might be the only opportunity for advancement for young individuals, hoping to make some kind of achievements in their life, in this captivity. Nothing wrong with wanting to excel, wanting glory, wanting recognition and respect and fame and money. Again, we got a lot of young brothers and sisters out there who are, in school, in middle school and high school, taking care of their whole family sometimes. It can be rough out here with the distractions, the discouragement, the insecurities, the threats, the risks that we take just to try to live legitimately here. Even just living legitimately, you ain't gotta sell drugs and be a criminal out there for your life to be at risk in these streets. And again, that's just Milwaukee I'm talking about. Carmelo, where were they? They were down in Texas. The young brother, Slovakia. I want to say Cecil Slovakia. That don't sound right. But the young brother who was unalive unjustly by that Moabite, that Asian, something child. Slovakia. If anybody knows that brother's name, it was in South Carolina. Brother went in looking for some waters, put the waters back. That's all on camera. Gets chased out the store by an armed assailant. And some of the stories they don't seem to match up too, as far as that father and his son's involvement in pursuit of that young brother. A lot of things that don't add up, but they got away with unaliving. They got away with unaliving that young man over water. Over water. Now let's say he did steal that water. To chase him down like that, to gun him down like that, completely uncalled for. But the camera showed that he put the water back, that he didn't steal anything from those people. But these are the day-to-day lives, the day-to-day risks that we experience here, man. So jump into these Sabbath services, jump into the LASHAWAN QADASH, jump into the brotherhood class, the law class, the scripture breakdown classes. Learn the appropriate, the right way, as ordained by the Most High in Christ, to separate ourselves from this captivity. It's all a spiritual thing. That's how I get point to my mind. It's all a spiritual thing. You might feel your body can feel that energy, that zeal, that spirit of the Most High. But it's a spiritual walk. It's spiritual steps that need to be taken that will manifest itself physically in this 3D reality that we experience. But it's a spiritual warfare against the powers and principalities, the dark imaginations. Because if you look out here, man, that's somebody's sick thoughts that we're living in. That this is not a byproduct of us. We are the byproduct. Our current living condition and situation and mindset and mentality and demeanor, behavior is the byproduct of somebody's sick and twisted imagination that we're trying to wake ourselves about. So find that school near you. Find that UPK school near you, man. If there's not one within your city, be prepared to build one in your city, because there's going to be people that are going to rely on you. They're going to look to you for leadership, for guidance, for protection. That responsibility is going to be on your shoulders if you want it. And there's nothing wrong with being a civilian in the nation, but if you look around, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that we need brothers to step up, to rise to the occasion. And it can be something as simple as teaching the classes. Teaching these classes. So on and so forth. Counting. And learn some of the Spanish too, so that we can get more familiar with our Northern Kingdom brothers too. I'm from the tribe of Ephraim. I don't speak a lick of Spanish though. So let's start mixing and matching some of these different tongues. Creole, Patois. Even some of the Native Indian languages. I can't remember all the different language groups, but the Algonquin, Lakota. I think the Menominee is from the Algonquin family of languages, and they have in I know that they got a school on a reservation that's immersed in the language, but they also have online classes too. But I think you have to sign up through their course study program. MITW. Check out MITW.com or .gov. That should bring you directly to their government website. You can check out some of those different programs and what they got to offer too. So again, we can try to meet our people on middle ground. They're trying to relearn a lot of the culture that was robbed and stolen from them too, even though they Israelites by blood, and their culture and identity go farther back than what's been lived and discovered here in America, in the Western Hemisphere. But the family, the bonds, the relationships that were stolen from them, the land, the peace, you know what I'm saying, the masculinity, the sobriety that these brothers and sisters lost in this hell and this captivity. And it's something that we need to be supportive of each other on. So get into these classes, man. And if you got any issues with substance abuse or other addictions, addictions come in all different shapes, sizes, forms, mediums. reach out to the ISUPK. We got counselors. We got. I want to make sure I'm wording this right. It's not just for substance abuse programs, but addiction in general. Contact the school captain McCod. I don't want Malakwa. You know what I'm saying? You got brothers that are diligent brothers that can give you that extra support and guidance. When in these moments when we're feeling weak and tempted and stressed out. I don't want to come Yala here in Milwaukee 5,000. Come Yala, has still continuing to do an amazing series on distraction. And what was it? Just Monday when he was getting into it. Heavy topics, heavy breakdowns on weathering the storm, maintaining discipline and dignity through the hardships, through the relationships, through and that's between you and your rib. It might be between you and your children that end up testing your resolve. It could be, a relationship between you and the brothers. Some cat between sisters. And he gave an excellent class on, following through and staying committed and staying diligent, staying disciplined, staying focused. Distraction, losing your focus, man. It can be so quick and so simple. And you might not think it's a big deal until you're coming back 2 months later to try to finish up a LASHAWAN QADASH class. Slavery can be a big distraction for you too, because again, you got all this pressure to pay all these bills. So you got to work all these hours that take time away from where your heart would want to be. You know what I'm saying? So you're not the only one going through it. Contact the school near you, man. See how they can help you out. You might listen. You might be the one with the voice of reason that somebody else needed to hear. So get involved. Get involved. All right. Finish this out strong. This verse 18. Verse 18 is going to be verse 19 in the Torah. Verse 18 in the English, the KJV. Kayatha. This might end up doing one lap, the 2 lines, and then might have to come back over with the third. Oh, slide. Yep. Probably definitely gonna have to come back with the third. Slide to drop the marker. Put this up over here, maybe. Almost forgot what my OCD felt like. Oyadaiwa. Kayatha. Shonka. Shamka. Maybe we can fit all of this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, how? But how you want. And then yeah, I'll come back with the to the bit. Again, looks like we're gonna have to do everything with the blue. Hey, Shalom to South Dakota, Tupa Regatta, Shalom, Yahweh Rapid City. See, that's an example of what I'm talking about. This brother Regatta out there in South Dakota, him and his family picked up their brick to put in for this troop. In South Dakota, ain't got a school anywhere near them. They're gonna build one up out there. So yeah, for Tupa guys too. So we should be on the last two verses of the series of what we were doing with Psalms 83. I can't remember what episode, quote unquote, this would have been, but we should have been on the last two verses, I believe. If I'm wrong, let me know if we're skipping something. But if you look at it in the English, in Psalms 83 in English, we should be on verses 17 and 18. That's where we should have left off, I believe, correct? If I'm wrong, get me right, Baba Kashan. And then we can, yeah, I'll see you back here in a couple more months. And then, we'll rehash the thing. But Lord Allah won't have to take all that long. Well, you have to hide it. So, yeah, stop. Shamka. Yeah, how? The back. How you want. And down here, this is an excellent example too of now, guys, brother, you good. Appreciate y'all doing it regardless. It's like for this taking, forever to finally circle back to. So appreciate y'all patience. But this is a good example of some of those characters that we're going to see that share some common elements that, if you're not studied up on enough, are going to be can get you confused when you're reading it in the Hebrew. The ba, the da, and the ta. I've seen like even when I first started, getting these two kind of mixed up. Because minus that line underneath, they're going to be very similar in shape and form. And with that top also, you can see how at the end of it, and again, I'm always a little bit more exaggerated pronounced with the tail or that longer stretch but just to give a better visual that there is a difference. There is that size difference. This edge, these are going to be kind of telltale signs also on what character that might be, because that ba, the ha, the tha, that's all going to be a little bit more rounded over. What we're seeing with and again, the way that this is printed, the print that they use for this, the font that they use for this, is going to be a little bit different than the font that you might see in your Torah or Tanakh. What you might see on your keyboard, on your phone, or whatever font you might download your PC. But for the most part, you're going to still see those kind of characteristics where this can be rounded over more. These might be a little bit sharper. The wa, it's like the ya, the wa, and the na. You can see the three different levels here. You can see the thin profile for all three of them. Again, this is just taking on the persona of an apostrophe. But these two often get confused. And again, in the scriptures, it's not going to be as pronounced. That height difference here, it's not going to be as pronounced. It might be something a lot more subtle, a little bit closer like that. It can be hard to differentiate. All right, so let's get this going. We got diagonal. Again, this is another one of those phrases. It dies in your word. Yeah, diagonal. So you die to know. This is to know. But the phrase that we have here in English is that men may know. So the main concept is, revolving around knowing and then kind of forcing that knowledge. Kaya atha. Kaya is going to be that. Atha, you. In the Old English, you're going to see thou instead of like you directly. So thou in this sense. If we say barakatha, bless you. In Old English, if this were 400 or 500 years ago, we probably would have been saying bless thou. I'm sure that would have been the cool vernacular back then, or just a regular, just the normalcy of it. Kaya, that thou. Now, whose name? Again, when we got ka as the possessive here, that's going to somebody else. So we're talking about the Most High's name. Again, this is a prayer to the Most High. So in this context, that thou, like the Most High is the thou. But it's the possessive. So his name, whose name? It's like men may know that thou, whose name Sham is name. Labaka is going to be alone. Bak, your root word here. And if you're looking at the blue letter, men in parentheses. If anything, just again, stylistically in English, when the translators were breaking this all down, just to kind of fill in the gap again, the concept of who we're talking about. Because the spirit behind it, the concept is that these men get checked. So now the whole world over, all men, which includes women, children, all people, that men may know that thou whose name alone, and then it's going to have is also in parentheses. Just because, again, to complete the thought in English, we kind of need some of those fillers that aren't going to be included in the Hebrew, just kind of imply. I guess in a sense, just fill in bridge the gaps. Yahweh is the Most High. So that's his proper name, but it's going to articulate specifically whose name, being the Most High. This is actually going to be out like the Most High. Because it's in art. That's also in parentheses. So that men may know that thou whose name alone is Yahweh. I believe it says which church? Yahweh. Yahweh art the Most High. So again, and in that sense of doubling down, reiterating. Expounding on his station, being above everything else. And his name being alone. His name being, his name doesn't directly translate into the Most High per se, but his name alone is the Most High over above everything else. Give me a second to copy this. Just talking about that station, of rulers of David, of the other Davidic king, exalted above monarchs, the highest, the Most High, referring to the name of God, being Yahweh. Because we'll see Yahweh consistently throughout the text. But this also directly saying that, again, his name alone, Yahweh, being the Most High. Of rulers, either monarchs or angels, princes. What I understand, you're going to see that normally that phrase almost pretty consistently. Most High, the Most High. You see on high, see upmost or uppermost, which is high. Second Samuel chapter 22, verse 14. Let's see, Yahweh thundered from heaven and the Most High uttered his voice. So again, kind of giving that title, that station. You see a lot of upper. And you'll see different instances where Most High is capitalized or lowercase. All right. Dry erase markers. Another investment that can get costly. Remember, it was so stupid on Facebook. Somebody had made a simple post giving a suggestion about how considerate it would be if the makers of dry erase markers, because they had what was the complaint? Because it's almost been settled. I mean, with this, you can see different colors, different color bases. Well, it might be a little hard, but you got the green, the red, the blue. But how if the makers, you got these kinds, but there isn't any color associated with the bottom to let you know what color that might be to keep these running longer. You know, when they're upside down, makes them last a little bit longer. But most people are forced to keep on either upside or right with the cap up, making the ink sink down to the bottom around the sides, making everything kind of go stagnant horizontally. But how much longer the markers would last? You know, somebody's pointing their argument back like, you know, why would the manufacturer of a product do something that would make people buy less of the product? Which, yeah, makes sense for, you know, business and whatnot, but it's kind of a shady way to do business. But that's America. Welcome to America. That is the type of atmosphere we are dealing with here. Capitalism, which inherently there's really nothing wrong with capitalism, in the sense of, you know, competition. Little healthy competition. Nothing wrong. You know, we got a lot of the only one that makes body butters and oils. You got Diet Soul's products. Man, Salaki. I can't remember the sister's label, but she made she got some hair oils, some hair and beard oils that help kind of like similar to Cap's hair crack. She got one that's supposed to help re-stimulate like the hair follicles at the root source, at the root level. And then she got another one that accompanies it. Once you get the root follicles kind of woken back up, stimulated, and starting to rise and shine, then she got another oil to back that up to help keep that momentum, keep it nourished, keep it moisturized, and then I don't know what kind of food hair needs, but there's you know she's got a very aromatic concoction going on. I know there's like rosemary in it that's supposed to be real good, but she's got a whole ingredients list on there. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's other people that make shirts, other people that make, you know, similar products, similar line products. So you can get a little bit of flavor of everybody's, you know, imagination, of everybody's skill set, everybody's personality. That's gonna be one thing that you see with what a lot of people sell. Even businesses, today, it's gonna be kind of a figment of or a representation of their personality and their character. So you got people that sell, something that we use quite frequently, but they make it cheap. They make it so that you got to constantly buy more and more and more and more and more, even though that they seem cheap. The more money that you got to spend on it, just the turnover of the product. That's I think just the intentions of safety. Everybody's, it's an innocent enough goal to make money. Be able to provide for whatever lifestyle you're trying to accommodate, but it still sucks. That's why we're trying to, find some markets that these devils can't really infiltrate. If we can avoid having to go overseas or online for some of the goods and products and services that the Israelite community could benefit more off of, something that we can produce amongst each other, we should go and support that. Even if you got to pay a little bit extra, they taxing us more for the materials. We got to charge a little bit more to keep the what's the word? Not just the capital, but the profits, to keep the profits sustainable, so that we can replenish. If it's like a renewable or a consumable product, so that we can replenish the materials needed to reproduce it and to keep pushing it out there. Or the service subscription based, something like that, so that we can keep it consistent. It might cost us a little bit more for some of the goods and services that Fortune 500 companies and people with big money backing them up, they can get, in bulk for a lot cheaper. But that again goes to fuel if somebody else, a heathen's family, heathen's goals, their dreams, their aspirations. Our kids got dreams and aspirations too. There's a future that we want to secure and hold for our families as well. A nation that we're trying to build, they've got their nation already built. Their kingdom is standing. It's, look out your windows. There's America. There's their kingdom. They've got that. Now they're just trying to maintain it and carve out their own little piece of that pie. We're building a whole pie from scratch. So it might take a little bit more effort initially before we can get some of the, that ball rolling. QADASH got a great product at a great price. Those oils, uncut, unfiltered, untreated, raw, uncut material products at an amazing price. Amazing fragrances at an amazing price. You know what I'm saying? And he's been able to rock it at first. I think I want to say he's been at it for so long now. I can't remember if he started off with the same ounce bottles that he's using now. I can't remember if it was like the 1 or 2 ounce bottles, but he had to refine and smooth out his business model after a while. It took a little bit for it to really take off, but he had something solid, and his brothers and sisters supported him. So go find you not just black and brown owned. Well, I should say it the other way. Not just UPK owned investments to check out, but black and Hispanic and Native Indian businesses. There's that sister Standing Bear. I think Stella Standing Bear. I heard him talking, and it's like I'm completely kind of off track here right now, but there was some talk recently about how they found it very unsettling and unfair and unreasonable that there wasn't a category for our people in their music awards. Something recognizing the contributions of the so-called Native Indians. Again, we would identify as tribes of Gad. But the sister's been on a tear. I haven't listened to all her music. I think she's got a good sound, a good presence, good energy. I don't want to say that I support her whole message because again, I haven't heard all her music to know what all of her kind of talking points are. Some of her outfits are a little crazy though. So if that's any kind of representation of what her yeah, well, it's going to be a form of expression, between her dress and her lyrics and her art form. But again, that's gonna give you a peep into their mentality, their character, their personality. But yeah, seeing her just with some wild stuff. She had these like furry, like look like an Ewok, look like Ewok shorts. Anybody knows Star Wars? You know what Ewok is? It was like a pair of little short shorts, little Daisy Dukes made out of Ewok skin or something like that. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it for my sisters, but maybe she just needs to find a UPK school near you. We would have advised her more brotherly. But there's a lot of talent out there, a lot of skills, a lot of undiscovered talents that keep your eye out for. Try Vibes. Try it. Cat like you got that app. It's on Apple, it's on Android. You can get it on both platforms. Showcase of artists and musicians that again aren't just UPK artists. He's got brothers and sisters on there, from the world essentially. But he from what I've seen, even from quote unquote outsiders, and then I use that term kind of loosely because again it's still Israel. But it seems like they all have a responsible approach. What the message, the pictures that they paint and verbally, a respectable sound to each of them. But check out Tribe Vibes. Tribe Vibes. Go to Apple. Go to the Google Play Store. Go check it out. Download that app. And then you can pick. I love it because you can kind of customize it. Who brought you that, and you can switch it up every month too. All the brothers that they play that they showcase on Cross Line Radio, on Car Chronicles, on Captain Cock's side mission. Every month, you can when you sign and renew your membership, you can always switch to different artists too if you wanted to throw your money, specifically there. It's a really nice model we got set up there. Let's finish this out. We're so close. Okay, yeah, thoughts and cutting out on the back how you want. Carl. All right. I knew that was not going to go well. I knew that was not going to go well. I'll wrap this up. That's always got the big finale at the end of the Psalms 83 prayer. We close that out. Yeah, one thing we get really animated. But then he got too animated. Right? It's one thing to be zealous, but some niggas they don't listen. They turn zest. Don't let your zeal turn to zest. Not to say he was zesty for the most high. Where he went wrong specifically, but This one kind of straightforward. You know, it's nice that they kind of linked it all together for us. It'd be nice if some of the other phrases were structured more like that, but our forefathers wrong. Over all no, actually, because the right side is going to be the root word, I is going to be the. So over all the earth. Or right side, earth, land, earth. You know, it can be a couple different generic terms representing, you know, body land or land in general. And that's the closing of Psalms 83. Which again, you can jump in and practice and rehearse every Saturday. Every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time if you're at our home. Otherwise, you know, the respective East Coast, West Coast, Pacific Mountain, Canadian time. I know they're kind of aligned with us too, but you got some of the differences. Make sure that we get better markers for next time. Also, I know we haven't used this for a while, so it's they just feeling neglected. All right, so with that, I think what else we got coming up? So the next on the next class, we're gonna start getting into some of the sentences to give us a better idea on the word context, sentence structure, because like we had seen how confounded and shame, kapar and bawash, how they almost could have been, you know, interchangeable, but you know the context, application, the inference, the spirit behind them, you know, have their differences. So we can go more into that when we start learning how to ask questions and give the appropriate answers. We'll study some of the different kind of themes of, you know, I am going to the store. I am doing well today. I am flat broke. I am at the school. I am teaching class. And we'll go into, you know, some, not just the adjectives, but you know, some of the verbiage, some of the actions, more nouns, and try to make more sense of how the English and the Hebrew can conflict, but how we can see some of the patterns. And you know, English is such a funny, stupid, goofy ass language. But that's, you know, for a lot of us, that's our first language. And for us to make sense of learning our cultural heritage, our root language, so to speak, you know, we got to learn how to kind of break it down in the language that we do know. You know, if a brother speaks Spanish, you're trying to teach him how to learn Hebrew, you got to be able to explain, you got to be able to articulate it to him well enough in Spanish so that he can connect those dots in the Hebrew in his head. We're crossing in a whole new, you know, neurons and synapses in our brain that we've never used before. learning, learning a different language, it's just a little bit different. I guess not all together, but it's a little bit different than learning just, a different skill set. A lot of those are motor functions, physical. This is definitely a lot more mental and dare I say spiritual. So the Lord allow it won't take forever and a half to circle back and get more of Milwaukee's classes going again. Yeah, everybody getting slavery. It's summer, camp season. A lot of brothers are out of town right now. We're hitting different zones: Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, Rapid City. We should be either getting y'all here soon or coming to make our presence known in South Dakota. We've got, what is it? The Feast of the next High Holy Day. The Memorial of the Blowing of the Trumpets. Friday, September 11th. That's going to be a fun one. So it's going to be memorial, so it's not going to be a feast day. You can definitely still gather together. It's going to be a holy convocation. So, a solemn assembly where a more formal gathering. It's not going to be a Sabbath service, I don't believe, but it's going to be a holy convocation. So I don't believe that's going to require the formality of garments when you teach in the class. But when we get into it, we're going to have fun with that. It's going to fall on 9/11, and we're talking about the memorial, the blowing of the trumpets for the nation of Israel. That was a trumpet blown to high heaven in America. They sounded the alarm. The whole world heard that. So let's get ready for September 11th, 9/11, Friday, September 11th, blowing up trumpets. What else we got? We get Sabbath services every Saturday mornings in their respective zones, normally about 10 a.m. to about noon. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Again, feel free to contact the school near you. Cross the Line Radio, Black Walk, the Hebrew Speak, Blew Up a Shut Up, Inconvenient Truth. You got a lot of platforms raising hell out there. You got Dalhar out there in Texas. Captain Cox is out down there in Texas. Captain Lamont, newly raised up Captain Lamont in Chicago. Everybody's very excited to see where you kick shit off next. You know what I'm saying? So tune in. Don't get tuned out, man. Shalom.